Welcome to my Channel Deep Sleep Mission-DSM. As we begin, I would be delighted if you could share your location in the comments below. It's truly inspiring to witness how far this content travels and to connect with viewers from across the world. The corner by my closet door has been 37 degrees for 6 nights straight. I know because I bought a laser thermometer from Home Depot yesterday. The rest of my apartment stays at a comfortable 72, but that corner, that one specific corner, makes my breath visible like I'm standing outside in January. You need to understand something before I tell you what happened last night. I'm not the type of person who believes in things I can't explain. I work IT support for a bank in downtown Seattle. I troubleshoot problems for a living, find logical solutions. But this doesn't compute. If you're listening to this in bed right now, maybe check the corners of your room, just to be safe, because what I discovered about cold spots, about why they really form, it's going to make you question every draft you've ever felt. All right, the story's starting now, and I promise you, by the end, you'll never look at the corners of your room the same way again. It started 3 weeks ago when I moved into this apartment on Capitol Hill. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom on the 3rd floor of a converted Victorian. The kind with original hardwood floors that creak when you walk and windows that rattle when buses pass. My landlord, Marcus, had given me a deal because the previous tenant broke their lease early. Said something about needing to move closer to family. I should have asked more questions. The first week was normal. I unpacked my stuff, set up my gaming PC in the living room, hung my Radiohead posters. Everything felt right. Like I'd finally found a place that felt like home after bouncing between overpriced studios for years. Then I noticed it one night while I was reading in bed. I could see my breath, but only when I looked toward the closet. At first I thought the window was drafty. Seattle winters aren't brutal, but they're damp and persistent. I checked the seals. Ran my hand along the frame. Nothing. The window was tight. The heater worked fine. I could hear it humming, feel warm air flowing from the vents. My electricity bill would definitely confirm it was running. But that corner, the one between my closet door and the wall where I'd pushed my dresser, stayed cold. I'm analytical by nature, so I started documenting. Night 1, 38 degrees in the corner, 71 in the rest of the room. Night 2, 37 degrees, same spot. Night 3, 37 again. The consistency bothered me more than the cold itself. Nature doesn't work that way. Temperature fluctuates. It doesn't hold steady like someone set a thermostat for just one corner of a room. By the end of the first week, I'd tried everything. Moved the dresser to check for vents or gaps in the wall. Nothing. Looked for water damage that might indicate poor insulation. The walls were perfect. Even checked the apartment below mine to see if they had a window, AC unit pointed up somehow. The lady who lived there, Mrs. Chen, just laughed and offered me tea. "You're in 3B right," she said, stirring honey into her cup, the corner by the closet. The way she said it, like she knew exactly what I was talking about, made my skin prickle. "Yeah, how did you?" "The last 3 tenants all asked about it." She took a long sip. "Marcus keeps renting that unit, keeps giving discounts, never mentions the corner. What happened to them, the previous tenants?" She shrugged, but her eyes darted away. "People move. Seattle's expensive. They probably found better deals." But the way she clutched her teacup, knuckles white against the porcelain, told me she was lying. I started sleeping on the couch, told myself it was because the living room had better heat circulation. But really, I couldn't stand looking at that corner anymore. The cold had started spreading, just slightly, maybe 6 inches further into the room each night. I marked it with masking tape on the floor. watch the boundary creep forward like frost on a window. My buddy Jake came over to check it out. He works construction, knows buildings inside and out. We spent an entire Saturday with his thermal camera, checking every inch of that corner. "Dude, this is weird." He pointed at the camera screen. The corner showed up deep blue, almost black, while the rest of the room glowed orange and yellow. "You got pipes in this wall. Kitchen's on the other side, so probably they're not frozen." He shook his head. "Frozen pipes would show different. This is like the cold's coming from inside the wall itself." We cut a small hole in the drywall, just enough to stick a camera through. I still remember the way Jake's face went pale when he looked at the screen. There's something in there." I grabbed the camera. Inside the wall, where there should have been insulation and studs, was a space. And in that space, scratched into the back of the drywall, were words. "She watches from the cold." The scratches looked old, desperate, like someone had used their fingernails. Some of the letters were stained dark. I didn't want to think about why. Jake packed up his tools without saying another word. I haven't heard from him since. He won't return my calls. That night, I measured the cold zone again. It had spread another 8 inches. I started researching the building's history. City records showed it was built in 1903, converted to apartments in the 70s. Nothing unusual, until I found a newspaper archive from 1987. Woman found dead in Capitol Hill apartment after neighbors report smell. The article was brief. Martha Hensley, 34. Found in apartment 3B after being dead for approximately 3 months. Cause of death, hypothermia. In July, the investigators couldn't explain it. Her apartment had been 68 degrees when they found her, but her body showed all the signs of freezing to death. Ice crystals in her blood, frostbite on her fingers and toes. She'd been found in the corner of her bedroom, curled up like she was trying to stay warm. The corner by the closet. I stopped sleeping altogether after that, started staying up all night, watching that corner, measuring the temperature every hour, charting the spread. By day 10, the cold zone had consumed a quarter of my bedroom, and that's when I saw her for the first time. It was 3:17 a.m. I know because I'd been staring at my phone, scrolling through Reddit posts about unexplained phenomena, trying to find anyone who'd experienced something similar. The apartment was silent except for the rain tapping against windows. I looked up, and there she was. Not solid, not like a person standing there. More like breath on glass, a suggestion of a shape. She stood perfectly still in the cold corner, where the temperature had dropped to 29 degrees. I could make out long hair, a nightgown. The curve of fingers pressed against the wall. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Just sat there on my couch, watching her watch me. Then she turned her head. The movement was wrong. Too slow, too deliberate, like someone moving underwater. When her face turned toward me, I saw why the corner was so cold. She didn't have eyes, just dark holes that seemed to pull heat from the air. Frost spreading across the wall behind her like spider webs. Why? The word didn't come from her. It came from the walls themselves, from the pipes, from the creaking wood, from everywhere and nowhere. Why won't you let me warm up? I found my voice, barely. You're Martha. The shape flickered, became more solid for just a moment. I saw her clearly. Skin blue-gray with cold, lips cracked, fingernails broken from scratching at walls. He put me in the cold. The walls whispered, sealed me behind drywall, left me to freeze. But it's July. It's July. Why am I so cold in July? The temperature in the corner dropped to 22 degrees. My breath came out in clouds even from across the room. "Who?" I managed. "Who put you there?" But she was fading, dissolving back into the cold, leaving only frost patterns on the wall that looked almost like words. I grabbed my phone, took pictures, but when I looked at them later, they just showed empty wall. I spent the rest of the night researching Martha Hensley. Found her obituary, her LinkedIn from the 80s when that was still a thing. She'd been a nurse at Swedish Medical Center. Lived alone. No family in Seattle. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A photo from a hospital fundraiser in 1986. Martha, smiling at the camera, standing next to a young maintenance worker. I recognized him immediately. Older now, grayer, but the same sharp nose, the same thin lips. Marcus, my landlord. I confronted him the next morning. Found him in the basement fixing the washing machine. He looked up when I came down the stairs, and I saw it in his eyes. He knew why I was there. "You found her." Not a question, a statement. "You killed her." He set down his wrench, wiped his hands on his jeans. "She was going to report me. Found out I was stealing from residents, going through their things when they were at work. She threatened to call the police. So you walled her up, alive. It was summer." His voice was flat, emotionless. "Didn't think she'd freeze, thought she'd just stop. But something happened in that corner, something I didn't expect. The cold came from her fear, her desperation. It froze her from the inside out. And you just left her there. Told everyone she moved. Waited 3 months, then called in a smell complaint myself. Let them find her. No one suspected the maintenance guy." He picked up his wrench again. "Been renting that apartment ever since, giving discounts, waiting for someone to stay long enough." "Long enough for what?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I understood. "She needs warmth," he said. "Needs someone warm to take her place. Then she can rest, and the cold will stop spreading." I backed toward the stairs, but he kept talking. Previous tenants all figured it out. Ran before she could take them. But you stayed, you measured. You investigated. You gave her time. I ran, took the stairs 3 at a time, burst into my apartment. The cold had spread to half the room. Ice crystals forming on my sheets. And Martha was standing by my bed, more solid than ever. So cold. The walls creaked. "Help me get warm." I grabbed my laptop, my phone, left everything else. But when I reached the door, it wouldn't budge. Ice had formed in the lock, frozen it solid. The cold hit me like a physical thing, drove me to my knees. I crawled toward the living room, but frost was spreading across the floor, following me, reaching for me. "Please." Martha's voice was clearer now, coming from right behind me. "I've been cold for so long." I could feel her fingers, ice against my neck, my warmth flowing out, her cold flowing in. But then I remembered something. Something from my grandmother, from her stories about spirits, about the unquiet dead. Martha. I gasped through chattering teeth. "Martha Hensley. I know what happened to you. I know who did it." The cold hesitated. Marcus killed you. Walled you up, left you to freeze." The temperature dropped even further, but not around me, around her. Her form solidified completely, and for the first time in 37 years, her eyes opened. Not the dark holes I'd seen before, but real eyes, brown and full of pain and fury. "Marcus," she whispered. And this time the sound came from her lips, not the walls. The ice on the door cracked, shattered. I scrambled to my feet, ran for the hallway behind me. I heard her moving, not toward me, but down, toward the basement. I made it outside, called 911 from the street, told them there was a gas leak, something to get them there fast. Then I sat on the curb and waited. They found Marcus in the basement, frozen solid, sitting by the washing machine with his wrench still in his hand. The medical examiner said it was the strangest case of hypothermia he'd ever seen. Body temperature had dropped to -40, in a room that was 70 degrees. They found Martha, too, or what was left of her, behind the wall in apartment 3B, gave her a proper burial, put her to rest. I went back one last time to get my things. The apartment was warm, perfectly warm, 72 degrees in every corner. No cold spots, no frost, no whispers in the walls, but I still moved out that day. Found a new place in Ballard, one without any corners that make my breath fog. Sometimes, though, on really cold nights, I think about her, about Martha, frozen in the walls for decades, waiting for justice, waiting for warmth. And I check my thermostat, make sure every corner of my apartment stays exactly the same temperature. Because now I know cold spots aren't just drafts or bad insulation. Sometimes there's someone trying to tell you something. Sometimes they're warnings. And sometimes they're just souls too cold to rest, looking for warmth in all the wrong places. But here's the thing, the story doesn't end there. And that's why I'm sharing this. Why I need you to listen carefully to what happened next. 3 weeks after I moved to Ballard, after I thought I'd left it all behind, I got a call from Mrs. Chen. Remember her? The lady from 2B who'd served me tea. Her voice shook over the phone. "Something's happening in the building," she whispered. "Other corners, other apartments. They're all getting cold." I didn't want to go back. Every instinct told me to stay away, but I couldn't stop thinking about the other tenants, innocent people who had no idea what they were living with. So I went, brought my laser thermometer, my camera, even convinced a friend from my paranormal research group to come along. Diana had experience with hauntings. Said she'd seen cold spots before. But when we walked into that building, even she went quiet. The lobby thermostat read 70 degrees, but our breath came out in clouds. Mrs. Chen met us at her door, wrapped in 3 sweaters. "It started the day after they took Marcus away," she said, leading us inside. "First, just my kitchen corner, then the bedroom. Now, her entire apartment was 37 degrees. There are more," she said, "more like Martha." Diana pulled out her EMF reader, and the thing went crazy before she even turned it on. "How many people died in this building?" Mrs. Chen looked at the floor. "I've lived here 40 years, and Marcus, he was always the maintenance man, always had keys to everything." We spent the next 6 hours going door to door. The few tenants who answered were all experiencing the same thing, cold corners that grew each night, whispers in the walls, fleeting shapes in the frost. Apartment 1A, elderly man named George, said he'd been seeing a young woman in his bathroom mirror, lips blue, asking why the shower water was so cold. Apartment 2C, a couple with a new baby. They'd moved the crib 3 times. Each time the cold found it. They were packing when we knocked, but it was apartment 4D that made everything clear. The door was open. Inside, 5 people stood in a circle, all staring at the same corner, their breath synchronized, fogging in perfect unison. "They've been like that for hours," Mrs. Chen whispered. Diana approached slowly, reached out to touch one of them, and jerked back. They're ice cold, but still breathing. I looked at the corner they were staring at. The wall was covered in frost, but in the frost, words were forming. Names. Dozens of names. Sarah Morrison, 1978. Frozen in the storage room. David Park, 1983. Frozen in the laundry room. Jennifer Watts, 1991. Frozen in 4D. Michael Brown, 1995. Frozen in the basement. Lisa Chen, 1999. Frozen in 3A. The list went on. 37 names. 37 degrees. He killed them all. I breathed. Marcus killed them all. Diana was taking pictures, documenting everything. When one of the people in the circle turned, it was a young woman, maybe 25. Her eyes were completely white with frost. "He's still here," she said. But it wasn't her voice. It was all of them. 37 voices speaking as one. Marcus is still here, in the basement, where the cold can't reach. I should have left then. Should have called the police. Let them handle it. But I thought about all those souls, trapped for decades, frozen in place, waiting. So we went to the basement. The door was locked, but the lock was so cold it shattered when I touched it. Inside, the temperature was normal, warm even, and there, sitting in a chair by the furnace, was Marcus. Not dead, not frozen, just sitting, staring at the flames. "Took you long enough," he said without turning. "Been waiting for someone to figure it out. You're supposed to be dead." Diana stepped forward, EMF reader screaming. The police said they found a body. Marcus laughed, dry, hollow, frozen solid, but did they check who it was? Really check. DNA tests cost money, easier to assume. He turned then, and I understood. The man in the chair wasn't Marcus. Not anymore. His skin rippled with frost patterns that moved like living things. His eyes reflected too much light, like ice crystals. "First one was an accident," he continued. "Sarah, back in '78, she'd found out I was stealing, threatened me. I locked her in the storage room to scare her, but something went wrong. The room got cold, so cold. And when I came back," he smiled, and ice cracked between his teeth. "She was beautiful, frozen perfect like a sculpture. In the cold, it spoke to me, told me secrets, showed me how to make more. You're insane." Diana backed toward the door, but it slammed shut, ice racing across its surface. "Insane." Marcus stood, and the temperature plummeted. "No, I'm preserved, just like them. We made a deal, the cold and I feed it warmth. It keeps me young, keeps me strong, lets me walk between the frozen places." The walls began to crack, frost spreading like lightning. In the cracks, faces appeared. All 37 victims, pressing against reality. But Martha broke the pattern. His face twisted with rage. She was supposed to join quietly, supposed to become part of the cold. But she fought, she remembered, she made noise, and now they all remember, I said, understanding finally dawning. "That's why the cold is spreading. They all want justice." "Justice," Marcus laughed again, the sound like breaking icicles. "They want warmth, and they'll take it from everyone in this building. Unless..." He moved faster than should have been possible. Grabbed Diana. His frozen fingers around her throat, she gasped, frost spreading across her skin. "Unless someone takes my place," he finished. "Someone warm, someone who understands, someone who's already been touched by the cold." He was looking at me, and I knew he was right. The cold had marked me. I could feel it. A tiny frozen seed where Martha had touched my neck, waiting. "Let her go." I stepped forward. "Take me." But before he could respond, the furnace exploded. Not with fire, with cold. absolute zero erupting outward. The basement walls shattered, frozen fragments of concrete and bone, all 37 victims pouring through, surrounding Marcus. "No," he screamed. "We had a deal. I fed you. You fed us pain." They spoke as one, Martha's voice leading them. "You fed us loneliness. You fed us fear. Now feel what we felt." They pulled him into the wall, into the cracks, into the spaces between. His screams echoed from every pipe, every vent, every corner, growing fainter, colder, until silence. Diana and I ran, stumbled up the stairs as the building shook. Ice was everywhere, spreading, consuming. We made it outside just as every window in the building frosted over simultaneously. Then, warmth. It rushed out of the building like a sigh, 40 years of stolen heat returning to the world. The ice melted, the frost cleared, and for the first time in decades, the building was just a building. The police found 37 bodies in the walls, in the spaces Marcus had created. Each one was given a proper burial. Their families notified, their stories told. The building was condemned, then demolished. They built a memorial garden where it stood. 37 trees in a perfect circle, with a fountain in the center that never freezes, even in the coldest Seattle winter. Diana and I stayed in touch, started documenting other cases, other cold spots around the city, because Marcus wasn't unique, wasn't special. He was just one of many who'd learned to weaponize the cold. And that's why I'm telling you this story. Why I need you to understand. Cold spots aren't always innocent, aren't always explained by drafts or science. Sometimes they're prisons, sometimes they're hunting grounds. But here's the most important thing. The thing that might save your life if you ever encounter one. The cold feeds on isolation, on silence, on secrets. Martha broke free because someone listened, because someone acknowledged what happened to her. The others were freed because we refused to leave them forgotten. So, if you notice a cold spot in your home, one that doesn't make sense, one that stays exactly the same temperature night after night, maybe don't ignore it, maybe measure it, document it. But most importantly, find out what happened in that spot. Talk to it, acknowledge it, give it a voice. Because the dead don't always rest. And the cold they carry, it's patient, it spreads. And it's always looking for warmth. But it's also looking for recognition, for someone to say, "I know you're here. I know what happened, and I'm listening." That's how you break the cold, not with heat, but with humanity. Hey, before you go, did you check the corners of your room yet? I'm serious. Use your hand, or your breath. See if any spot feels colder than it should. And if you find one, especially if it's exactly 37 degrees, maybe leave a comment below. Let me know, because I've been tracking these stories, mapping them, and there's a pattern forming. Seattle isn't the only city with these cold spots. I've gotten emails from Portland, San Francisco, Denver, always the same temperature, always the same slow spread. Always buildings with long histories and quiet secrets. And if you're brave enough, if you really want to know, try this. Go to your cold spot at 3:17 a.m. That's when the boundary is thinnest. Take a thermometer, a camera, and most importantly, an open mind. Say out loud, "I know you're cold, I know you're trapped, tell me your story," then wait and listen. Because every cold spot has a story, every 37-degree corner holds a secret, and every soul frozen in place just wants someone to know they existed, to know they mattered, to know they're not forgotten in the cold. So tell me, Is your room getting colder? Sweet dreams, and stay warm. But more importantly, stay human. Because that's the only heat that really matters. Story number 2. They found her phone still streaming. Face down in the carpet, the chat going wild with messages she'd never read. 20,000 viewers watched Madison Clark disappear. And I was one of them. But here's what the news won't tell you. What the police reports left out. I know what really happened that night. Because 3 days before she vanished, Madison sent me something that changed everything. My name is Jamie, and if you're listening to this, you need to hear the whole truth. All right, the story is about to begin. Get comfortable, but maybe keep a light on. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who watched influencer live streams. You know the type, sitting in chat, spamming heart emojis, buying overpriced merch. That wasn't me. I was 26, worked IT support at a tech startup in Austin, spent my evenings playing guitar or reading. But Madison Clark, she was different. Maybe it was because we went to the same college. UT Austin, class of 2020. We'd never met. She was social media marketing. I was computer science, different worlds. But when her videos started popping up on my feed last year, something about her felt familiar, real. Madison wasn't like other influencers. No perfectly curated apartment tours. No sponsored smoothie bowls. She did these late-night streams she called midnight confessions. Just her, talking to the camera like it was her best friend. She'd share ghost stories from her childhood in small-town Texas, weird dreams she'd had, theories about parallel universes, the kind of stuff you'd talk about at 3 a.m. in a dorm room, when the world felt soft and strange. I started watching regularly, Tuesday and Thursday nights, 11 p.m. sharp. The notification would pop up. Madison Live is going live, and I'd grab my laptop, settle into bed, let her voice fill my tiny apartment. It was comforting, like having a friend over, without the awkwardness of actual human interaction. The night everything changed was October 15th, a Tuesday. I remember because I'd had a brutal day at work. Server crash. Angry clients. The works. I was exhausted. Almost skipped the stream. But habit won out. 11 p.m., notification popped up. I clicked. Madison looked different that night. Usually she streamed from her bedroom. Fairy lights in the background. That tapestry with the moon phases everyone our age seemed to own. But tonight, she was somewhere else. The lighting was harsh, fluorescent, white walls, no decorations. Hey, night owls? Her voice was softer than usual, tired. I know this looks different. I'm not at home right now. I'm somewhere safe though, don't worry. The chat immediately lit up. Where are you? What happened? Are you okay? She forced a smile. I'm fine. Really. Just needed a change of scenery. You ever feel like your own space doesn't feel like yours anymore? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to type something. But what? Instead, I just watched as she tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear. She was wearing an oversized hoodie I'd never seen before. Navy blue, no logos. So, she continued, I was thinking we could do something different tonight. Instead of ghost stories, I want to talk about something that's been happening to me. Something real. She leaned closer to the camera, her eyes, usually bright and animated, looked hollow, dark circles underneath. When was the last time she'd slept? It started 3 weeks ago, she said. I was doing a regular stream. You guys remember. The one where I tried to make that viral pasta recipe and nearly burned my kitchen down? The chat filled with laughing emojis. I remembered. She'd forgotten the pot on the stove while reading donations. The smoke alarm had gone off. She'd laughed it off, turned it into content. Well, after I ended the stream that night, I noticed something, my viewer count. It said I still had one viewer, even though I'd definitely hit end stream. I figured it was just a glitch. YouTube's always glitching, right? She paused, took a sip from a water bottle. But then it happened the next stream, and the next. Always one viewer, lingering after I ended. I tried everything, refreshing, logging out and back in, even called YouTube support. They said there was no issue on their end. The chat was moving fast now. That's creepy. Maybe a bot? Check your analytics. Madison nodded like she could hear our thoughts. I know what you're thinking. Bot, glitch, whatever. That's what I thought too. Until... She stopped, looked over her shoulder at something off camera. The motion was quick, nervous, until I started getting the emails. My apartment suddenly felt colder. I pulled my blanket up higher, kept my eyes on the screen. Madison was scrolling through her phone now. The first one came from a Gmail address that was just numbers, random numbers. The subject line said, "I'm still watching." That's it. No body text, no signature, just that subject line. She held her phone up to the camera. I couldn't make out the details, but I could see her inbox. Dozens of emails, all from different addresses, all with subject lines visible. I see you. You look tired today. Nice pajamas. Your coffee's getting cold. My stomach dropped. Those weren't just creepy, they were specific. Details someone would only know if they were watching me. Madison's voice cracked. Not just my streams, me in my apartment when I wasn't streaming. The chat exploded. Call the police. This is stalking. Madison, stay safe. She set her phone down, ran both hands through her hair. I did go to the police. They took a report, told me to be careful. Changed my locks. I did all that. I even stayed with my friend Sarah for a few days. But the emails, they kept coming. And they got more detailed. Yesterday, she whispered. Yesterday, I got one that said, "Stop hiding at Sarah's. Her couch isn't comfortable anyway." The fluorescent light above her flickered. She flinched. "So, that's why I'm here. I can't tell you where exactly, but it's safe. Security, multiple exits, and I needed to talk to someone. To all of you, because you guys, you're the only ones who really know me, and I'm scared." I finally typed in chat. "Have you noticed anyone following you IRL?" She must have seen it because she nodded. "That's the thing. No. I've been paranoid, looking over my shoulder constantly, but I never see anyone. It's like they're..." The screen glitched, pixelated for just a second. When it cleared, Madison was frozen. Not buffering frozen, but completely still, eyes wide, staring at something behind her camera. "Madison," I said out loud, even though she couldn't hear me. She slowly raised one finger to her lips. "Shh." The chat was going insane. "What's happening? Is someone there? Call 911. Madison reached for her phone. Slow, careful, like she was trying not to make sudden movements. She typed something, held it up to the camera. "Someone's here." The next 30 seconds felt like 30 minutes. Madison sat perfectly still, eyes locked on whatever she saw behind the camera. The chat scrolled so fast I couldn't read individual messages, just a blur of panic and caps lock. Then she relaxed, shoulders dropping, a shaky laugh escaping her lips. Sorry guys, just security doing rounds. This place has me jumpy." But something was off. Her laugh was too high, too forced, and her eyes kept darting to that spot behind the camera. "You know what?" she said, standing up quickly. "I think that's enough for tonight. I'm exhausted and clearly seeing shadows. Thank you for listening, for being here. I'll update you Thursday. Okay? No, don't end stream. Stay safe, Madison." The chat begged her to stay on, to call someone, to not be alone. "I'm fine," she insisted. But her hand shook as she reached for the camera. "I promise. I'll see you Thurs." The stream cut off. not the normal end screen. No, thanks for watching. Just black. I sat in my dark apartment, staring at the blank screen. Refreshed the page. Nothing. Checked her other socials. Her last Instagram post was from 3 days ago. A selfie with her coffee. Caption, "Caffeine and courage for another week." Something was wrong, really wrong. I barely slept that night. Kept checking her page, waiting for an update, a tweet, an Instagram story, anything. But Madison Clark had gone silent. Wednesday crawled by. I checked my phone constantly at work, earning annoyed looks from my supervisor. By evening, #Where's Madison was trending on Twitter. Other viewers from Tuesday's stream were sharing clips, theories, concerns. Someone had screen recorded the whole thing, including that terrifying moment when she froze. I watched it over and over, zoomed in on her eyes, trying to see what had scared her. In the reflection of her pupils, was that movement or just pixelation from the video compression? Then I remembered something. That chat message I'd sent, she'd seen it, which meant she'd seen my username. Jamie R_ATX, Austin in the username. She'd know I was local. Maybe. I did something I'd never done before. I sent her a DM on Instagram. "Hey Madison, this is Jamie from your streams. I'm in Austin too. Actually went to UT same time as you. I'm really worried. Are you okay? If you need help, I'm here." I stared at the message after sending it. Felt creepy, parasocial, but the sent receipt showed she hadn't read it. Her last seen was Tuesday night, right before the stream. Thursday came, 11 p.m. I had her YouTube page open, refreshing constantly. 11:05, nothing. 11:10, still nothing. The comment section was filling up with worried fans. At 11:23, she went live. My heart jumped. I clicked immediately. But something was wrong. The stream was just her empty bedroom. Fairy lights on. That moon phase tapestry, but no Madison. The camera was positioned exactly where it always was, pointing at her usual spot on the bed. The title of the stream, "Come Find Me," chat exploded. "Where is she? Is this a prank? This isn't funny, Madison." We watched that empty room for 5 minutes, 10, 15. Nothing moved. No sound except for the faint hum of her laptop fan. Then, at exactly 11:38, we heard it. A door opening, off camera. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. A shadow passed across the wall. Too tall to be Madison. Too broad. The footsteps stopped. Right outside the camera's view. We could hear breathing, heavy, ragged. Then a hand reached into frame. Pale. Wearing a navy blue hoodie, it picked up something from the bed, Madison's phone. The same one she'd shown us Tuesday night. The hand retreated. More footsteps, the door closing. And then, nothing. Just that empty room. Those fairy lights twinkling like nothing had happened. I called 911. I wasn't the only one. The Austin Police Department later said they received over 300 calls about Madison Clark that night. But here's the thing. Nobody knew where she actually lived. She'd never shown the outside of her building. Never mentioned her neighborhood. For safety reasons, she'd said. The stream continued for another hour before YouTube automatically cut it off. 1 hour of that empty room. But if you watched carefully, if you really paid attention, you could see something the police reports missed. At minute 47, the moon phase tapestry moved just slightly, like someone had brushed against it from behind. And in the fairy lights, in their reflection on the window, you could see a shape, standing perfectly still, watching. I screen recorded everything, downloaded it before YouTube could take it down, because even then, even in my panic, I knew something. This wasn't random, this wasn't some deranged fan, this was planned, calculated. And it wasn't over. The next morning, October 20th, my Instagram DM showed as read. I stared at that read receipt like it might disappear. 3:47 a.m., she'd seen my message. My hands shook as I typed. "Madison, are you okay? Please respond." The typing indicator appeared immediately, those 3 dots pulsing. I held my breath. Then, nothing. The dots vanished. No message came through. I tried again. I saw the stream. I called the police. "If you're in trouble, send me anything, a period, an emoji, anything." Read at 3:52 a.m. No response. By Friday afternoon, Madison Clark was officially a missing person. Her face was all over local news. Popular Austin influencer vanishes after disturbing livestream. They showed clips from her old videos. That bright smile, those animated gestures. It felt wrong seeing her like that, knowing what I'd witnessed. The police held a press conference. Detective Sarah Martinez, stern-faced, professional, told reporters they were investigating all leads. They'd found Madison's apartment, the one from the stream. The door had been unlocked, her phone was missing. No signs of struggle. "We're asking anyone with information to come forward," Detective Martinez said. "Miss Clark has a distinctive tattoo on her left wrist. A crescent moon, if you see her." I stopped listening. That tattoo. I'd seen it dozens of times on stream. She'd gotten it junior year. Said it reminded her that even in darkness, there was still light. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. My heart raced, but it was just a spam follow request. I was about to close the app when I noticed something. Madison's profile picture had changed. It was black. Just solid black. I clicked on her profile. Everything else was the same. Her bio, her follower count. But that profile picture, when had it changed? I scrolled through my notifications. Found it. 4:15 a.m. While I'd been sleeping. Then I saw it, a new story post, added 1 hour ago. My finger hovered over it. Part of me knew I shouldn't look, should just call the police, let them handle it. But I had to know. I tapped. The image loaded slowly. It was dark, grainy, like it was taken with an old phone camera. But I could make out shapes, a room, concrete walls, no windows, and in the corner, Madison, sitting with her knees pulled to her chest, still wearing that navy hoodie. Her face was turned away from the camera, but I could see that crescent moon tattoo. It was her. The story had text overlaid, "She wanted followers, now she has one." Before I could screenshot it, the story vanished, deleted, like it had never existed. I called Detective Martinez immediately. Got transferred 3 times before reaching her voicemail. Left a rambling message about the Instagram story, the changed profile picture, the read receipts. I sounded insane even to myself. An hour later, she called back. "Mr. Rodriguez, this is Detective Martinez. You said you saw a new post on Madison's account?" Yes, I did. It was, "We've been monitoring her social media account since yesterday. There's been no activity." I pulled up Instagram again. Madison's profile picture was back to normal. Her smiling face from some beach trip last summer. No trace of the black square. No evidence of the story. But I saw it. I swear I saw it. Someone has access to her account. There, Mr. Rodriguez. Her voice was patient but tired. "We've received hundreds of tips. People claiming they've seen her. Received messages. We're investigating everything. But I need you to understand. Sometimes, when we're worried about someone, our minds can play tricks." She didn't believe me. Why would she? I had no proof. No screenshot. Just my word against nothing. That night, I couldn't bring myself to turn off the lights. Kept checking and rechecking my locks. Every notification made me jump. I tried to distract myself. Watch something mindless on Netflix, but kept thinking about that grainy photo, that concrete room. The text, "Now she has one. One follower. The one viewer who stayed after every stream." The emails about her pajamas, her coffee, Details no one should know. Someone had been watching Madison long before she vanished, studying her, learning her routine. At 11 p.m., out of habit or hope or stupidity. I opened YouTube, checked her channel, no new streams. But the comment section on her last video was still active. Thousands of messages, prayers, theories, demands for updates. I scrolled through them and froze. There was a comment from Madison's account, posted 10 minutes ago. "Thank you for watching. The show's not over." My laptop screen flickered. Just for a second, like a power surge when it stabilized. I was no longer on YouTube. I was on a different site, black background, no URL in the address bar, just a video player and a chat box. The video was live. That same concrete room from the Instagram story. Better quality now. I could see details. A metal door with no handle on the inside, a single bulb hanging from the ceiling, and Madison, still in the corner, but facing the camera now. She looked directly at me. Not at the camera, at me, like she could see through the screen. "Jamie," she whispered. The chat box showed one other viewer. Username, OneWatcher1. A message appeared. "Welcome to the private show." My fingers fumbled for the screen record button. Had to document this, had to have proof, but every keyboard shortcut failed. The mouse wouldn't respond. I couldn't even close the browser. The video filled my entire screen, trapping me. Madison stood up slowly. The navy hoodie was filthy now, stained with something dark. Her hair hung limp around her face, but her eyes were alert, aware. "I know you're watching," she said. Her voice was hoarse. "All of you, but especially you, Jamie." How did she know it was me? There was no username display, no way to identify viewers. Unless... "You sent me that DM," she continued. "Said you went to UT, said you wanted to help." A bitter laugh. "Nobody can help, don't you get it? This is what I wanted, what we all want. To be seen, to be watched, to matter." The chat box lit up. OneWatcher1 was typing. "Tell him the truth, Madison." She flinched at the message, wrapped her arms around herself. "The truth." She looked off camera at something I couldn't see. "The truth is, I made a deal. 3 months ago, my channel was dying. The algorithm buried me. Hundreds of hours of content and nobody cared. Do you know what that feels like? Screaming into the void? I wanted to type something, anything. But the chat box wouldn't accept my input. I could only watch. Then I got an email," Madison continued. "Not the creepy ones I told you about. A different one. Professional. Said they could guarantee viewership. Said they had a unique marketing approach. All I had to do was play along." She laughed again. No humor in it. "They sent me scripts. Told me what to say about the stalker. When to act scared. When to end streams. It was all planned, every detail. And it worked, didn't it? My last stream had 20,000 viewers. 20,000 people watching me disappear." OneWatcher1 typed, "Show him the rest." Madison's face crumpled. "Please. I did what you asked. I played the part. Just let me go, please. Show him, or I show everyone." She walked to the corner of the room. The camera followed her, panning smoothly. Not a stationary webcam then. Someone was operating it. Madison knelt down, pushed aside a pile of what looked like takeout containers, pulled out a notebook. "Insurance," she whispered, "in case things went wrong." She opened it. Pages covered in handwriting. Held them up to the camera one by one. I leaned closer, trying to read names, dates, instructions for each staged event, and at the bottom of every page, a signature I recognized. Madison Clark. "I agreed to it all," she said. "The fake emails, the pretend stalker, even this, the disappearance. It was supposed to last 48 hours, just long enough to go viral. Then I'd resurface with a story about escaping. Book deals, interviews, maybe even a documentary. She closed the notebook. But that was 5 days ago, and they won't let me leave. The camera zoomed in on her face, tears cutting tracks through the dirt on her cheeks. Because here's what they didn't tell me. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. The company I made the deal with, they don't exist. No office, no phone number, just emails and wire transfers, and the person running it all. One Watcher One. They're not interested in making me famous. She looked directly at the camera again. At me. They're interested in making me disappear permanently and showing every single person who watches it happen. The chat box exploded with messages from One Watcher One. Rapid fire. Too fast to read individual words. The screen started glitching. Pixels bleeding colors. That concrete room fracturing into digital fragments. Through the chaos, I heard Madison scream. Not acted, not scripted. Real terror. The video feed cut to black. Text appeared on the screen. White letters on black background. Thank you for participating in our beta test, Jamie Rodriguez. Your viewing data has been recorded. Your engagement metrics are exceptional. We'll be in touch regarding Phase 2. My laptop shut down, complete power loss. When I frantically pressed the power button, nothing. Dead, I grabbed my phone, called 911, tried to explain. A website, a live stream. Madison was alive, but trapped. The operator kept asking for an address, a URL, anything concrete. I had nothing. Sir, are you saying you witnessed a crime? Where did this occur? I don't know. It was online, but real. She's in danger. Madison Clark, the missing influencer, I saw her. We'll add your information to the case file, sir. A detective will contact you if they need additional details. They didn't believe me, just like before. But this time I couldn't blame them. It sounded impossible, felt impossible. Maybe I was losing my mind, maybe. My phone buzzed. New email, unknown sender. No subject line. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. A single line of text, check your laptop camera. I looked at my dead laptop. The camera, the tiny LED that showed when it was active, it was on, glowing green in the dark screen. Another email. We've been watching you too, Jamie. Every stream, every late-night session. You're perfect for Phase 2. I covered the camera with my thumb. Ridiculous, paranoid, but my hands were shaking. Third email. This one had an attachment, a video file. 23 seconds long. I recognized my apartment immediately. My couch, my guitar in the corner. Filmed from where my laptop sits. Recent, too. I'd bought that plant on the coffee table just last week. The video was time-stamped. Tonight, 11:47 p.m. I looked at my phone. 11:47 p.m. In the video, my apartment door opened. A figure walked in. Tall, broad shoulders, navy hoodie. They walked directly to the camera, leaned in close. I couldn't see the face, hood pulled too low, but I heard the voice. Madison's voice, but wrong, distorted. Like multiple people speaking in unison, the show must go on. The video ended. I sat in perfect stillness, listening. Was someone in my apartment? Had they already been here? I grabbed a kitchen knife, checked every room, every closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain. Nothing, nobody. Just me and my paranoia and that dead laptop with its glowing green eye. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Jamie, Madison's voice. Clear this time, terrified. I know you don't believe what you saw. I know it sounds crazy, but they're coming for you next. They want performers. People who understand the game, who can play the part. Don't let them. Cut off. Message ended. I called the number back, disconnected. I didn't sleep. Sat on my couch with every light on. Kitchen knife in one hand, phone in the other. Refreshing news sites, checking social media, waiting for something, some sign that this was real, or that it wasn't. At 3 a.m., a new email. Phase 2 begins at sunset tomorrow. Your audience awaits. Attached was a contract, professional, legal language, logo for a company called Digital Disappearances, Inc., terms and conditions. Payment schedule. Everything official except for one detail. The signature line at the bottom was already filled in. My name. In my handwriting. Dated 3 months ago, the same date Madison had signed hers. But I'd never seen this document before, never agreed to anything, never. My laptop screen flickered to life. Impossible. I hadn't touched the power button, but there it was, booting up, and when it loaded, a folder on my desktop I didn't recognize, your audition videos, inside, dozens of files, all dated from the last 3 months, all showing me, in my apartment, reading, playing guitar, sleeping, living my life, unaware I was being filmed, being evaluated, being cast. The final video was from tonight, me on the couch, knife in hand, eyes wide with fear, the perfect thumbnail for a horror stream. Title: The Viewer Who Became the Viewed. Upload status: Processing. Scheduled release: tomorrow, sunset. I ran to the bathroom, threw up, splashed water on my face. In the mirror, my reflection looked wrong. Hollow. Like Madison had looked in that final stream, like I was already disappearing. When I came back to the living room, my laptop showed a YouTube channel I didn't recognize. Jamie Watches. Created 3 months ago, 0 videos. But one scheduled live stream. My turn to vanish, 24-hour disappearance challenge. 10,000 people waiting. The sun's coming up now. I can see it through my window, painting the Austin skyline orange and pink. Beautiful. Normal. Like this is just another Friday morning. But I know better. I've tried everything. Can't delete the channel, can't cancel the stream, can't even leave my apartment. The door won't open. Handle turns, but nothing. Like the frame is sealed shut. My phone has no signal. Internet works, but only for specific sites, YouTube, the contract, and that black-screened website where Madison performed her final show. She's still there. I checked an hour ago, still in that concrete room. Still alive, still waiting. The chat shows 2 viewers now. Me and one watcher 1. Last message in the chat. Your room is ready. So, I'm doing the only thing I can think of. Recording this, writing it all down. Maybe someone will find it. Maybe someone will believe it. Maybe someone will stop watching before it's too late. Or maybe this is exactly what they want. Another story, another performance. Another viewer turned victim to feed the algorithm. The sun's almost up. My show starts at sunset. 12 hours to figure out how this ends. But I already know, don't I? The same way Madison's did. With 20,000 people watching me disappear, and one viewer who stays until the very end. If you're listening to this, if you made it this far, I need you to understand something. This isn't just a story, this is a warning. Check your laptop cameras. Check your view counts. Check those emails you've been ignoring. Because maybe, just maybe, you're already auditioning, and you don't even know it yet. Sweet dreams, night owls. The show's about to begin. Story number 3. They started with an A. I found it on my left wrist during my morning shower. A perfect bruise. Dark purple fading to yellow at the edges. Shaped exactly like the letter A. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. Let me tell you something. If you're listening to this right now, lying in your bed, thinking this is just another creepy story to help you drift off to sleep, I need you to check your arms. Right now. Both of them. Look for any marks you don't remember getting, especially ones that look like letters. Still there? Good. Because what I'm about to tell you happened 3 weeks ago in Portland, Oregon, and I haven't slept properly since. The story begins now. My name is Sarah Chen, and I worked at a small bookstore called Midnight Pages on Hawthorne Boulevard. You know the type. Creaky wooden floors, that old paper smell, coffee brewing in the back. The kind of place where regulars come in just to chat about whatever mystery novel they're reading. That Tuesday morning started like any other. I woke up at 6:30, stumbled to my bathroom, turned on the shower, and that's when I saw it. The bruise on my left wrist. Perfect capital A. Like someone had pressed a metal letter into my skin while I slept. I touched it gently. It didn't hurt, which was weird. Bruises are supposed to hurt, right? This one felt like nothing. Just discolored skin in a very specific shape. I tried to remember if I'd bumped into anything. Maybe the shelf at work? Sometimes I knock my arms against the corners when I'm restocking. But this was too precise, too intentional looking. Probably just a weird coincidence, I told myself. Had to be. What else could it be? I covered it with my watch and headed to work. The bookstore was quiet that morning. Tuesdays always were. Just me and the smell of old books and fresh coffee. I was pricing a shipment of paperbacks when Mrs. Rodriguez came in. She's one of our regulars. Comes in every week for her romance novels. "Morning, Sarah," she said. Then paused. "You feeling all right? You look tired." I forced a smile. Just didn't sleep well. She nodded sympathetically and headed to her usual section. I went back to pricing books, trying not to think about the mark on my wrist. But I kept catching myself pulling up my sleeve, checking if it was still there. It was. Around noon, I was reaching for a book on the top shelf when my sleeve rode up. Jake, my coworker, noticed immediately. "Whoa, gnarly bruise," he said. "That looks like an A." My stomach dropped. You can see it too?" He laughed. "Yeah, why wouldn't I be able to see it?" "No, you think it looks like a letter too?" Jake shrugged. Yeah, pretty clearly. You brand yourself or something?" I pulled my sleeve down quickly. Just a weird bruise. But it wasn't just weird, it was impossible. Bruises don't form in perfect letter shapes, they just don't. That night, I examined it under every light in my apartment. Took photos with my phone. It was definitely an A capital letter. Like a font you'd see in an old typewriter. Courier, maybe. The edges were too clean, too defined for a normal bruise. I Googled everything I could think of. Bruises shaped like letters. Alphabetical bruising. Letter-shaped marks on skin. Nothing useful came up. Just medical sites about normal bruising and some weird tattoo forums. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd jerk awake thinking someone was in my room, pressing letters into my skin. Wednesday morning, I checked immediately. The A was still there, but now there was a B on my right forearm. Same style, same purple-yellow coloring, same perfect typewriter font shape. My hands were shaking as I touched it. Like the A, it didn't hurt. The skin wasn't raised or lowered, just marked. 2 letters, A and B, in alphabetical order. That's when the real fear started. I called in sick to work. I couldn't pretend everything was normal. Not with these marks appearing on my body. Jake texted asking if I was okay. I didn't respond. Instead, I did what any rational person would do. I went to urgent care. But first, I did something else, something I'm almost embarrassed to admit. I went to my bathroom and tried to scrub the marks off. Hot water, soap, even a pumice stone. Nothing. The letters didn't fade, didn't smudge, didn't react at all. The skin around them turned red and raw, but the bruises themselves remained perfect, pristine, like they existed underneath my skin rather than on it. I remember standing there, water dripping, skin stinging and laughing. This hollow, broken sound that didn't sound like me. Because what else do you do when your body starts spelling out the alphabet? The waiting room at Providence Urgent Care smelled like disinfectant and anxiety. I filled out forms with shaking hands. Under reason for visit, I wrote unexplained bruising. Dr. Martinez was kind but clearly puzzled. She examined both marks under a magnifying glass, pressed around them, asked about my medical history, medications, if I'd been in any accidents. "These are unusual," she finally said. "The shape is remarkably consistent. Have you been using any new products? Detergents? Anything you might be allergic to?" I shook my head. "They just appeared. The A yesterday morning, the B this morning." She frowned. "In alphabetical order? I know how it sounds. I'm going to run some blood tests, check for clotting disorders, vitamin deficiencies. Sometimes our bodies do strange things." She paused. "You mentioned they don't hurt. That's good. If they were painful or expanding, I'd be more concerned." The blood draw made me dizzy, not from the needle, but from the nurse's expression when she saw the marks. "Honey," she said softly, "is someone hurting you? You can tell me." "No," I said quickly. "No one's hurting me. They just appear." She didn't look convinced. I left with a referral to a dermatologist and instructions to come back if more appeared. The doctor seemed to think it was some kind of allergic reaction, maybe psychosomatic, stress-induced. I wanted to believe her that night. I couldn't eat. Everything tasted like ink. It's hard to describe, like my mouth was full of words I hadn't said yet. I made chamomile tea thinking it would calm me down, but even that had an aftertaste of alphabet soup. I called my best friend, Mia. We'd known each other since college. If anyone would believe me, it would be her. "Sarah, slow down," she said after I'd rambled for 5 minutes. "You're saying letters are just appearing on you? Bruises, in the shape of letters, in alphabetical order?" Long pause. "Have you been sleeping? This sounds like I'm not hallucinating. Mia, I have photos. Send them." I did. Waited while she looked, heard her sharp intake of breath. "Holy shit. Sarah, these are really clear, like, too clear. Bruises don't form perfect letters, I know." "What did the doctor say?" I told her about Dr. Martinez, the blood tests, the confusion. "You want me to come over?" Mia asked. "I can be there in 20. "No," I said quickly, too quickly. "I mean, I don't know if it's safe. What if it's contagious?" "Letters aren't contagious, Sarah." But I wasn't sure about that. Wasn't sure about anything anymore after we hung up. I did research until my eyes burned. Found obscure medical journals. Forums for people with unexplained conditions. Even dove into folklore sites. Nothing quite matched, but I found patterns. Stories about marks appearing on skin. Usually dismissed as hoaxes or misdiagnosed conditions. One post stood out. From 3 years ago. A woman in Michigan claimed letters appeared on her daughter. Random letters, not alphabetical. They'd stopped at 7 marks. Just stopped. No explanation. The account was abandoned after that. I messaged her. Knew it was a long shot, but I was desperate. Then I set up my phone to record me sleeping. If someone was doing this, I'd catch them. I double-checked all my locks. Put a chair against my bedroom door. Slept in long sleeves and pants to cover as much skin as possible. Thursday morning, 5:47 a.m. I woke up before my alarm. Checked the recording first. 8 hours of me sleeping. Tossing and turning, but nothing else. No intruders. No mysterious figures pressing letters into my skin. But when I pushed up my sleeves, C on the inside of my left elbow, I think I screamed, not loud, just a small, desperate sound that caught in my throat. 3 letters now. ABC following the alphabet like some sick children's song. I watched the recording again, frame by frame around the timestamp of 3:33 a.m. That's when I shifted in my sleep, arm moving from under the covers and in the grainy phone footage. I swear I could see the sea slowly darkening on my skin, like invisible ink becoming visible. No one touching me. No impact. Just the letter materializing over the course of about 30 seconds. I threw up, right there on my bedroom floor. My body was creating these marks on its own. Or something was creating them. Something I couldn't see. I called my sister in California, tried to explain. She thought I was having a breakdown. "Sarah, you need to see someone, a therapist. This sounds like what? Amy? Like I'm crazy? Like you're under a lot of stress. Remember when Dad died and you started getting those migraines? Our bodies process trauma in weird ways. But this wasn't trauma. This was something else." I spent the day researching everything I could find. Old folklore, medical mysteries, paranormal experiences. Found a Reddit thread about someone who claimed their scars rearranged themselves into words, but the account was deleted. Found a medical journal about a psychosomatic marking, where intense psychological states could cause physical manifestations, but nothing about alphabetical patterns. Then, around 3 p.m., while I was reading, I felt it, a tingling on my right shoulder blade, like pins and needles, but different, more purposeful. I ran to my bathroom, pulled off my shirt, twisted to see in the mirror. D. It was happening while I was awake now. The tingling sensation lasted about a minute, and I watched in horror as the letters slowly appeared. First, a faint outline, then darker, then the full bruise in that same purple-yellow gradient. I took photos, videos. I needed proof this was real, that I wasn't losing my mind. That's when I noticed something else in the mirror. The letters weren't random on my body, they were forming a pattern. A was on my left wrist, B on my right forearm, C on my left elbow, D on my right shoulder blade. Left, right, moving up my body. If this continued, where would Z appear? By Saturday. I had 7 letters. Through G. The progression was speeding up. E had appeared on my left shoulder Friday morning, F on my right hip Friday night, G on my left thigh Saturday afternoon. I'd stopped leaving my apartment, called in sick to work again. Jake had left 3 voicemails. Mrs. Rodriguez had apparently asked about me. I didn't call anyone back. The dermatologist appointment was Monday, but I knew they wouldn't find anything. This wasn't medical, this was something else. I'd covered every mirror in my apartment, couldn't stand seeing the letters. But I kept checking, documenting, taking photos. The pattern was consistent. Left, right, moving up and down my body like some twisted game of connect the dots. Saturday night, I decided to test something. I wrapped my entire left calf in ace bandages. Layers and layers. If something was pressing these letters into my skin, the bandages would show compression marks. If it was internal, they wouldn't matter. H appeared on my left calf at 11:47 p.m., right through the bandages. No compression marks, no disturbance to the wrapping. The letter just existed underneath when I unwrapped it. I was running out of unmarked skin. That's when I remembered something. A customer from last month. An older man who'd come in looking for books about symbols. He'd been intense, asking specifically about alphabetical magic, letter curses. I'd thought he was just another Portland eccentric. What had he said? Something about the full alphabet is a complete incantation. Each letter builds on the last. 26 steps to what? I couldn't remember. I'd been half listening while checking him out. Thought he was rambling. I searched our inventory system, found his receipt, Thomas Ashford. Bought 3 books on symbology and ancient languages, paid cash, no phone number. But I had security footage, I still had my store keys. Drove there at 2 a.m. The streets were empty except for a few late-night food carts. The bookstore felt different in the dark, threatening, like the books were watching me. I found the footage from October 15th. There he was, thin, maybe 60s, wire-rimmed glasses, talking to me at the counter. I turned the volume up. The human body is just another surface for writing, his grainy voice said. Ancient scripts believed letters held power. Write the right word in the right order, on the right canvas. Past me was nodding politely, scanning his books, not really listening. The alphabet itself is the oldest spell, he continued, A to Z, beginning to end, alpha to omega. Complete the sequence, and the audio cut out. Corrupted file. Of course, I rewound, watched again, noticed something I'd missed as he was leaving. He touched my wrist, just briefly, a handshake maybe, the same wrist where A had appeared. My phone buzzed. 3:33 a.m. I felt the tingling before I even looked. Right ankle. The letter I was forming as I stood there in the dark bookstore, watching myself get cursed on a security monitor. I drove home in a panic. By sunrise, J had appeared on my left hip. The letters were coming faster now, sometimes only hours apart. I tried everything. Salt circles, prayers to gods I didn't believe in, burning sage until my smoke alarm went off. Nothing stopped them. By Sunday evening, I had up to P16 letters decorating my body like some demented alphabet chart. Only 10 more to go. That's when I made a decision. If Thomas Ashford had done this, he might know how to stop it. I had to find him. I searched everywhere online. No social media, no phone listings. But I found an old newspaper article. Thomas Ashford, professor of ancient languages at Portland State. Retired 2019 after what the article called an incident involving unauthorized experiments on university property. His last known address was in the archives, a house in the Alberta Arts District, 20 minutes from my apartment. I drove there as Q began forming on my right ribcage. The tingling was stronger now, almost burning, like the letters were getting impatient. The house was dark, overgrown yard, newspapers piled on the porch, but there was a light in the basement window. I knocked, no answer, knocked harder. Professor Ashford, I need to talk to you. You came to my bookstore. Midnight Pages? You did something to me. The door opened a crack. Those same wire-rimmed glasses peered out. Ah, he said. You're early. I didn't expect you until W. His basement was exactly what you'd expect from a disgraced linguistics professor. Books everywhere. Walls covered in alphabets from dead languages. The air smelled like ink and old paper and something else. Something organic, but it was the other things that made my skin crawl. Jars filled with what looked like preserved skin samples, each labeled with dates going back decades. Photographs pinned to a corkboard. People I didn't recognize, all with frightened eyes. Some had visible marks on their exposed skin. Failed attempts, Ashford said, noticing my stare. You're the first to progress past M in 30 years. There were others? Of course. The spell is ancient, but finding the right vessel, that's the art. Most bodies reject it. The letters fade, or worse. Worse? He gestured to one photo. A man with marks that looked wrong. The letters were backwards, overlapping, like his skin had tried to write multiple alphabets at once. His mind broke at K, started speaking in tongues. Real tongues. Dead languages. He's in an institution now. I visit sometimes. He speaks fluent Sumerian. Never studied it a day in his life. R was burning itself into my left shoulder blade as he talked. The pain was getting worse, each letter more insistent than the last. Why? I asked. Why do this to people? Because, he said, settling into a desk chair that creaked under his weight. Humanity has forgotten the power of language. We use words carelessly, meaninglessly, emoji and abbreviations and gibberish. But you When you complete the sequence, you'll understand every word ever written, ever spoken, ever thought. That's insane. Is it? Think about it, Sarah. Every advancement in human history started with language. The ability to share ideas, record knowledge, build on what came before. But we've lost our connection to that power. You'll restore it. I don't want to restore anything. I want my life back. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Your old life was small, limited. You read books but never truly understood them. Soon, you'll be the books, all of them. Every story humanity has ever told will live inside you. S was forming on my stomach now, only 4 letters left. The others, I said. The failures. Did any of them try to stop it? Oh, yes. One woman, a teacher from Seattle. She tried everything, even attempted to burn the letters off. He shook his head. The marks just reformed, angrier, deeper. She gave up at Q. Gave up? His face darkened. The letters have to go somewhere, Sarah. If they can't complete their sequence on you, they'll find another way. Through you, into others. Spreading like a virus of meaning. My blood went cold. You mean, if you die before Z, everyone you've touched since A appeared will begin the sequence. Your friend Jake, your sister, that doctor, all of them. The alphabet demands completion. I thought of everyone I'd interacted with, hugged, shaken hands with, brushed against in the grocery store. You're lying. Am I? Why do you think I live alone? Why I wear gloves when I must go out? He held up his hands. Thin leather gloves I hadn't noticed before. I carry 3 incomplete sequences, from 3 failed attempts. If I touch anyone, skin to skin. T was starting on my right thigh. The tingling was fire now, each letter more painful than the last. Where will Z appear? I demanded. His smile faltered. I don't know. The texts were unclear about the final letter. Some say the forehead, others the heart. One manuscript suggested it appears inside. Inside? The brain, the tongue. Somewhere that completes the circuit. He pulled away from my grip. You should go. Document everything. For science, for history. You're the first success in centuries. I left him in his basement. Drove home with you burning itself into my left forearm. In my apartment. I stood naked in front of the mirror I'd uncovered. 21 letters now. My body was a manuscript, a work in progress. V came at midnight. Right shin. The pain was excruciating now, like being branded. I bit down on a washcloth to keep from screaming. Only 4 letters left. WXYZ. I video called my sister, showed her everything, made her promise to save the recordings. She cried, begged me to go to the hospital, but what would they do? Sedate me while my body completed its transformation. W appeared at 3:33 a.m. Of course it did. Left side of my neck, crawling up toward my face. The pattern was running out of room. X came with the sunrise. Right side of my neck, symmetrical to W. My skin felt electric. Every letter pulsing with its own rhythm, 24 heartbeats spread across my body. I could feel words now, not hear them, feel them. Every book in my apartment was singing. Every text message on my phone was a sensation. Language had become tactile, physical, alive. Y started forming at noon, center of my forehead. The burning was beyond pain now. It was transformation. Metamorphosis. I understood what Ashford meant. I wasn't being decorated with letters. I was becoming language itself. But Z, where would Z appear? I waited, recorded everything, sent files to my sister, to cloud storage, to anyone who would listen. The 25 letters on my body pulsed in unison, waiting for their final companion. At sunset, exactly 1 week after A had appeared. I felt it, not on my skin, inside, behind my eyes, in my brain. Z was writing itself into my consciousness, the final letter, the completion. The pain was indescribable, like every word I'd ever read was being carved into my neurons. Every story, every sentence, every single letter was becoming part of me. And then, silence. The letters on my skin faded. Not disappeared, but absorbed. Sinking into me like ink into paper, I could still feel them. All 26, but they were part of me now, not on me, in me. I looked in the mirror, normal skin, no bruises, no marks, just me. But when I opened my mouth to scream, to cry, to say anything, words poured out, not my words, all words, every word. Languages I didn't know, stories I'd never heard. My voice was a library. My breath was punctuation. I was exactly what Ashford had said. A living lexicon. The first few hours were hell. I couldn't control it. I'd try to say water, and instead recite the etymology of hydration in 12 languages. I'd think about calling my sister, and my mouth would speak phone numbers from different centuries. Area codes that didn't exist, numbers in Roman numerals. I texted Mia. Something happened. Don't call. Can't control voice. She showed up anyway. Found me curled on my bathroom floor, speaking Shakespeare's sonnets in backwards chronological order. Sarah, oh my God, we need to get you to a hospital. I shook my head violently, grabbed her hand, tried to write on her palm, HELP. But my finger traced different letters, ancient symbols, cuneiform maybe. My body wouldn't let me write simply anymore. Mia stayed with me that first night, fed me soup when I could manage to stop speaking long enough to swallow, held my hand when the words became too much and I just sobbed. Wordless sounds that turned into lullabies from cultures I'd never heard of. By the second day, I learned to direct it somewhat, if I concentrated hard. I could speak normally for short bursts. 10, maybe 15 seconds before the lexicon took over again. Tell me, Mia said during one of those moments. Tell me what you need. Find Ashford, I managed. Make him fix. But he was gone. His house empty, the basement cleared out like it had never been occupied. Even the photos were gone. Mia searched everywhere, called the university, checked records. Thomas Ashford had died in 2019, the same year he'd supposedly retired. So who had I met? What had I met? On the third day, I discovered something else. When I touched books now, I absorbed them, not reading, absorbing. My hand on the cover, and suddenly I knew every word, every meaning, every possible interpretation. The bookstore's entire inventory flowed into me in hours. But it wasn't just books, street signs, text messages, graffiti. Language attacked me from every angle, filled me up. I was drowning in words. That's when I understood what the woman from Michigan had meant when she'd finally responded to my message. Just 4 words. Stop at 7, please. She'd found a way to halt the sequence. Let her daughter live with just 7 letters. 7 bruises that never faded but never completed either. A partial curse instead of a total transformation. But it was too late for me. I was complete. A through Z. The living dictionary, the human library, the thing Ashford had wanted to create. I tried to return to work. Lasted 1 day. A customer asked for a book recommendation and I recited the entire contents of our fiction section, alphabetically, in multiple languages. She ran. Jake found me in the back room, crying without sound because even my sobs came out as words. What happened to you? He whispered. I wanted to tell him, wanted to warn him, but all that came out was a dissertation on the history of the question mark. It was 3 days ago. I've learned to control it somewhat, to speak normally, mostly, but sometimes, when I'm not careful, when I'm tired or scared or angry, the words take over. Stories write themselves on my skin in invisible ink. Forgotten languages whisper from my lips. I went back to Ashford's house. It's empty now, cleaned out, like he was never there. The neighbors say it's been vacant for years. I still work at the bookstore. What else would I do? But now, the books and I have an understanding. They tell me their secrets. I keep their stories safe, inside me, where the alphabet lives. If you're still listening, check your arms again. Any new marks, any unexplained bruises? Because here's what I didn't mention. What I couldn't bring myself to say until now. The alphabet inside me, it wants to spread. It's looking for the next candidate. The next living lexicon. And every time I tell this story, every time someone listens all the way to the end, it searches. The letters know who loves language, who lives in words, who would be perfect just like I was. So tell me, do you feel that tingling yet? That slight pins and needles sensation on your wrist? Check again. Is that an A? Sweet dreams. Story number 4. The notification on my phone still haunts me. You have arrived at your destination. 5 simple words that shouldn't terrify anyone, but they do now, because I received that message at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night in downtown Seattle, while I was still sitting in the back of the Uber. And my driver? He was staring straight ahead, hands gripping the wheel, not moving, not breathing, not even blinking. If you're listening to this late at night, maybe tucked in bed thinking this is just another creepy story to help you drift off, I need you to pay attention, because what happened to me could happen to you. And once you know the signs, once you understand what to look for, you might just save yourself. But before I tell you what happened that night, before I explain why I can't use rideshare apps anymore, I need you to do something for me. Check your phone. Go ahead, I'll wait. Look at your last Uber or Lyft receipt. Does the drop-off time match when you actually got out of the car? Does it? Because mine didn't. And that small detail, that tiny discrepancy, was the first sign that something was terribly, terribly wrong. The story begins now. Tuesday nights in Seattle are usually quiet. The tech workers have gone home, the bars aren't packed yet, and the streets have that eerie calm that only comes in the middle of the week. I'd been working late at my office in Pioneer Square. You know, one of those converted warehouse spaces with exposed brick and Edison bulbs that every startup seems to have these days. My name's Rachel, by the way. Rachel Chen. I'm telling you this because, well, if something happens to me after sharing this story, at least someone will know who I was. I requested the Uber at 11:23 p.m. The app showed a silver Toyota Camry, license plate starting with BXK. The driver's name was Marcus, 4.9 stars, over 10,000 rides. His profile photo showed a middle-aged black man with kind eyes and a slight smile. Everything seemed normal. God, how I wish I'd just walked home that night. The wait time said 3 minutes. I stood outside my building, watching the little car icon inch closer on my screen. The street was empty except for a few scattered cars and the distant sound of someone's music echoing off the buildings. Seattle in November. Misty, cold, that kind of damp that seeps through your jacket no matter how many layers you wear. The Camry pulled up exactly on time. I checked the license plate. BXK 4782 matched perfectly. I opened the back door and slid in. "Hi, Rachel." The driver turned slightly, and I saw it was the same face from the profile photo. Marcus. Same kind eyes, same slight smile. "That's me," I said, buckling my seatbelt. "Going to Capitol Hill. The address should be in the app." "Got it," he said, already pulling away from the curb. "Long night at work?" "Just small talk, normal rideshare conversation." I relaxed into the seat, pulled out my phone, and started scrolling through emails. The car smelled like those vanilla air fresheners. You know the ones. Mixed with something else I couldn't quite place. Something metallic, like pennies. We drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes. I watched the familiar streets pass by through the rain-spotted window. Pike Street, then Madison, the city lights blurring together in the drizzle. That's when I noticed the first odd thing. Marcus wasn't following the GPS route. The blue line on his phone clearly showed we should turn left on Broadway, but he continued straight. "I think you missed the turn," I said, looking up from my phone. No response. "Marcus, the GPS says, different route tonight." His voice was flat, different from the friendly tone when I'd first gotten in. Construction. I hadn't seen any construction signs, but okay. Drivers know the city better than GPS sometimes. I went back to my phone, but something made me glance at the driver's GPS again. The screen was black, completely off. A small flutter of unease settled in my stomach. "Is your GPS working?" "Don't need it." Still that flat tone. His hands hadn't moved on the steering wheel, perfectly positioned at 10 and 2. Knuckles pale in the streetlight. We were heading east now, definitely not toward Capitol Hill. The buildings were getting less familiar, darker. The streetlights seemed farther apart here, creating long stretches of shadow between pools of orange light. "This really doesn't seem like the right way," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Maybe we should—" "Almost there." Almost where? We were nowhere near my apartment. I pulled up the Uber app on my phone to check our route and froze. According to the app, we weren't moving. The little car icon sat perfectly still at my pickup location in Pioneer Square. But outside the window, unfamiliar streets continued to roll by. I refreshed the app, same thing. According to Uber, this ride hadn't even started yet. "Marcus," I said, my mouth suddenly dry, "can you please take me to the address I entered? I really need to get home." He didn't answer. Didn't even acknowledge I'd spoken, just kept driving. Hands at 10 and 2, eyes straight ahead. That's when I noticed his reflection in the rearview mirror, or rather, what I didn't notice. His eyes weren't blinking. I watched for what felt like a full minute, not one blink, just a fixed stare at the road ahead, like a mannequin propped behind the wheel. My heart started racing. I reached for the door handle, some instinct making me want to test it, and my blood turned to ice. The child locks were on. "Let me out," I said, no longer trying to hide the fear in my voice. "Stop the car and let me out right now." Nothing. No response. Just those unblinking eyes and pale knuckles as we drove deeper into a part of Seattle I'd never seen before. Industrial buildings loomed on either side, dark windows like empty eye sockets. No other cars on the road. I pulled out my phone to call 911, and that's when I saw it. A text notification from Uber. "You have arrived at your destination. Rate your driver." The timestamp said 11:47 p.m. I looked at my phone's clock, 11:47 p.m., but we were still driving, still moving through those dark streets with no end in sight. And Marcus, or whoever was in the driver's seat, still hadn't blinked once. My finger hovered over the 911 button, but something made me hesitate. How would I explain this? Help, my Uber driver is taking a weird route? They'd think I was paranoid, or worse, drunk. But the child locks, the unblinking stare, the fact that according to the app I was already home. I decided to try something else first. I opened my messages and quickly typed to my roommate Kelly. "In an Uber, driver acting strange. If I don't text in 20 minutes, call police. License plate BXK 4782. The message wouldn't send. No signal, but that was impossible. We were still in Seattle. I always had signal in Seattle. "Marcus," I tried again, forcing my voice to sound calm. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can you please just take me to Capitol Hill? I'll pay cash for the extra distance." The car began to slow. Relief flooded through me. Finally, he was listening. But as we pulled to a stop, that relief turned to a deeper dread. We were in an empty parking lot. No buildings nearby, just a vast expanse of cracked asphalt surrounded by chain-link fence. A single streetlight flickered overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. And beyond the fence, nothing. Just darkness so thick it looked solid. "We're here," Marcus said. Same flat voice. Same unblinking stare in the mirror. "This isn't my destination," I said. My hand tried the door handle again. Still locked. "This isn't anywhere. Please, just take me home." "You are home." The words sent ice through my veins. I looked out the window again. Really looked, and noticed something that made my breathing stop. There was another car in the parking lot, about 50 feet away, barely visible in the darkness. A sedan, could have been any make or model, but something about it seemed familiar. "Look at your phone," Marcus said. The first time he'd spoken without me talking first. I didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed not to look. But I looked anyway. The Uber app showed I was at my apartment building. The little pin dropped perfectly at my home address. Even showed the time of arrival, 11:47 p.m., and my fare. $12.83, already charged to my card. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the driver photo. It had changed. Instead of Marcus's kind face, and it showed someone else. Someone sitting in a car. Someone who looked exactly like me. I was looking at a photo of myself, labeled as the driver, and in the background of that photo, barely visible, was the interior of a silver Camry. "This isn't happening," I whispered. "This can't be happening." "You've arrived," Marcus said. His head began to turn. Slowly, too slowly, like a door on rusted hinges. "Time to get out." The child locks clicked open. I didn't hesitate. I yanked the handle and practically fell out of the car, stumbling on the broken asphalt. The night air hit me like a slap. Cold and damp and smelling of rust and something else. Something organic and wrong. I spun around, ready to run, but stopped. The Camry's driver door was open. Marcus was standing beside it, and for the first time since those first few moments of the ride, he was looking directly at me. His eyes were completely black, no whites, no iris, just empty pools that reflected nothing. "Your turn," he said, and smiled. Not the kind smile from his profile photo, but something that stretched too wide. Showed too many teeth. I ran. Behind me, I heard the Camry's door slam. The engine-reverend headlights swept across the parking lot as I sprinted toward the fence. Looking for a gate, an opening, anything, the other car, the familiar sedan. I changed direction, running toward it instead. Maybe someone was inside. Maybe they could help. As I got closer, my phone suddenly blazed to life. Full signal. A flood of notifications. Missed calls from Kelly, texts asking where I was, and one new Uber notification. "Your driver is here. Silver Toyota Camry, license plate BXK4, 1782 I." I reached the sedan and grabbed the door handle, locked. I pounded on the window and froze. There was someone in the driver's seat, slumped forward, hair covering their face, wearing a green jacket exactly like mine. The Camry's headlights found me. The engine roared closer. I had nowhere to run. Fence on all sides. The locked sedan my only shelter. That's when I saw the keys, hanging from the ignition of the sedan. The door was locked, but the keys were inside, and hanging from the keychain was something that made my knees buckle. My apartment key. The distinctive purple key cover Kelly had given me last Christmas. The spare I always kept in my jacket pocket. I checked my pocket. The key was gone. The Camry screeched to a stop 10 feet away. Marcus got out. Still smiling that too wide smile. Still those black, empty eyes. "Time to drive," he said. "You have a pickup waiting." I pressed myself against the sedan, my mind racing. The keys dangled inside. My keys. In a locked car with someone who looked like me slumped in the driver's seat. The implications made my head spin, but I didn't have time to process them. Marcus was walking toward me. slow, measured steps, still smiling. "I'm not getting in that car," I said, surprised my voice came out at all. "You don't have a choice." His head tilted at an unnatural angle. "You already did." My phone buzzed. Another Uber notification. "Your passenger Rachel is waiting. Don't keep her waiting." The passenger photo showed a woman standing outside an office building. Pioneer Square. Timestamp 11:23 p.m. It was me. A photo of me from 24 minutes ago? An hour ago? Time had become meaningless in this place. "No," I whispered. "No, this isn't real. This is some kind of breakdown. I'm having a breakdown." Marcus laughed. Not a human sound, more like grinding metal. "Real is relative, Rachel. You took the ride. You arrived at your destination. Now you complete the loop." The woman in the sedan stirred, slowly raised her head. Through the windshield, I saw my own face staring back. But wrong. The eyes were hollow, the skin gray, like looking at a corpse wearing my features. "That's what happens," Marcus said, following my gaze. "When you don't complete the loop, when you refuse your turn, she's been here how long now? Days? Weeks? Time moves differently when you're between destinations." My phone rang. Kelly calling. I answered without thinking. "Rachel, where are you? Your location shows you're home, but you're not here." "Kelly!" The relief of hearing her voice almost broke me. "Kelly, I need help. I don't know where I am. Call the police. Send them to..." The line went dead. Not disconnected. Dead. Like the signal had been cut by scissors. "She can't help you," Marcus said. "No one can. You're between points now, between pickup and drop-off, between passenger and driver. The only way out," he gestured to the Camry, "is through." I looked at the sedan again. The thing wearing my face had pressed its palm against the window, leaving a greasy print. Its mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear through the glass. But I could read lips. It was saying, "Help me," over and over. "How many?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "How many people have you done this to?" Marcus's smile widened impossibly further. "Check your app." Against every instinct, I looked at my phone. The Uber app was open to a strange screen I'd never seen before. A map, but not of Seattle, not of anywhere that should exist. It showed a vast network of roads that looped and twisted in impossible patterns. And moving along those roads, thousands of little car icons, tens of thousands. Each one had a label, a name and a date. Sarah M., March 3rd, 2018. David L., August 15th, 2019. Jennifer K., December 2nd, 2020. And at the center of the maze, a pulsing red dot labeled Distribution Hub. "Every driver was once a passenger," Marcus said. "Every passenger becomes a driver. The system requires balance, input and output. You got in the car, Rachel. You have to complete the journey. What happens if I don't?" He gestured to the sedan, to the thing that used to be me, or would be me, or was another me. I couldn't understand the logic of it. Didn't want to. "You fade," he said simply. "Between spaces, between states. Neither here nor there. Neither alive nor other. Forever waiting for a ride that already came." The thing in the sedan had stopped moving, just stared with those hollow eyes. Waiting. Always waiting. I thought about running again, but where? The parking lot stretched endlessly in all directions now. The fence had disappeared while we talked. Just flat asphalt meeting that solid darkness on all horizons. The only light came from the street lamp above and the Camry's headlights. My phone buzzed. A credit card charge. $12.83 from Uber. The receipt showed a trip from Pioneer Square to Capitol Hill. 5 stars. A comment from the passenger, "Great driver. Very quiet ride. Would ride again." The passenger's name was Rachel Chen. "It's already happened," Marcus said. "You already drove yourself home, already gave yourself 5 stars, already completed the loop. This..." He gestured at the parking lot, the darkness, everything. This is just the space between, the moment of transition. Fighting it only makes it worse. I looked at the Camry. The back door was open, inviting. Inside, I could see another phone mounted on the dashboard, the Uber driver app open, a pickup request waiting. Rachel Chen, Pioneer Square, 11:23 p.m. If I do this, I said slowly, if I drive myself, what happens after? You drop yourself off, give yourself 5 stars. And then, his black eyes reflected nothing. Then you wait for the next passenger. I stood there in that impossible parking lot, caught between 2 versions of myself. One dead or dying in a locked sedan, one waiting to be picked up 24 minutes ago. Or was it hours? Days. The temporal vertigo made me nauseous. Why? I asked Marcus. Why does this happen? What is this? He tilted his head again, considering. You ever wonder about all those missing person cases? People who just vanish? Cars found abandoned on the highway, last seen getting into a rideshare? I had. Everyone had. Those news stories that pop up every few months. Someone requests a ride, gets in, never seen again. The driver claims they dropped them off. The app confirms it. Case closed. The system needs feeding, Marcus continued. Roads don't just exist, Rachel. They're hungry things. Living things. And we made a deal. Long before Uber, before Lyft, before any of it. The roads get fed, and in exchange they let us use them. Let us move from place to place without consequences. That's insane. Is it? He gestured at the endless dark. You're standing in a parking lot that doesn't exist, talking to a driver who may or may not be human anymore, staring at another version of yourself dying in a locked car, still think the normal rules apply. My phone buzzed again. Kelly, the app says you're home, but you're not here. I'm calling the police. I tried to reply, but the keyboard wouldn't work. The letters rearranged themselves, spelling out the same message over and over. Complete the loop, complete the loop. Every road demands sacrifice, Marcus said. Used to be we'd leave offerings at crossroads, bury things at midnight, spill blood on fresh asphalt. But modern problems require modern solutions. Now the roads feed themselves. Through the apps, through the system, a perfect self-sustaining loop. I thought about every late-night ride I'd ever taken, every driver who seemed a little too quiet, every route that didn't quite match the GPS. How many had been like Marcus? How many passengers had noticed something wrong but said nothing, just grateful to reach their destination? If I don't do it, I said, if I refuse, then you join her. He nodded toward the sedan. Forever between, forever waiting, neither passenger nor driver, neither here nor there, trust me. Driving is better than that. The thing in the sedan had gone completely still. Frost was forming on the inside of the windows despite the November drizzle. I could see my breath now, the temperature dropping, the edges of the parking lot starting to blur and shift. Time's running out, Marcus said. The window is closing. Either you take the wheel or you take her place. Those are the only options. I looked at the Camry, at the open door, at the phone showing my own pickup request. My past self, standing outside that office building, checking her phone, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Could I do it? Could I become part of this system? Pick up passenger after passenger, knowing what I was leading them to? But the alternative, the sedan's windows were completely frosted now. I couldn't see the other me anymore. Just a vague shape, motionless. Trapped. I walked to the Camry. Smart choice, Marcus said. I slid into the driver's seat. The wheel felt cold under my hands. The phone showed the route. Pioneer Square to Capitol Hill. A simple enough drive. One I'd made 100 times. What about you? I asked. What happens to you when I take over? Marcus was already fading, becoming translucent. I get to rest until the next time. There's always a next time. How long? How long do I have to do this? But he was gone. Just empty air where he'd been standing. The sedan had vanished too, just me, alone in a silver Camry, in an endless parking lot. Except not endless anymore. The fence was back, the buildings. I could see Seattle's skyline in the distance, real streets beyond the chain link. The phone chimed. Passenger waiting. Don't keep Rachel waiting. My hands moved without conscious thought. Put the car in drive, headed for the exit. The gate opened automatically. As I merged into traffic, real traffic with real cars and real people, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes weren't blinking. I tried, concentrated, forced myself. But they stayed open, fixed, staring, just like Marcus. The GPS guided me to Pioneer Square. Every turn familiar, every street one I'd driven in my own car. But this wasn't my car. This was the between car, the loop car, the hungry car that fed the hungry roads. I saw myself before I arrived, standing outside the building, checking my phone, completely unaware. I pulled up to the curb, watched myself check the license plate, watched myself open the door. Hi, Rachel, I heard my own voice say. God, is that what I sounded like? So trusting, so naive. That's me, Past Rachel said, buckling in. Going to Capitol Hill. The address should be in the app. I wanted to warn her, wanted to scream, get out, run, don't trust the app. But my mouth moved on its own. Got it. Long night at work. And we drove. The familiar route, the correct route, for now. I knew what came next, the detour, the dark streets, the parking lot. I tried to change it, tried to turn toward Capitol Hill, but the wheel wouldn't obey. My hands were locked at 10 and 2. The car had its own destination in mind. In the back seat, Past Rachel was scrolling through her phone, oblivious, trusting. 10 minutes until she noticed the wrong turn. 15 until she started to panic. 24 until we reached the lot. Unless I caught her eye in the mirror. Forced my mouth to move. Actually, there's something you should know about this ride. But what came out was different route tonight. Construction. The loop demanded completion. The system required balance, and I was just another car on another hungry road, carrying another passenger to another impossible destination. Behind us, in the distance, I swear I could hear engines. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All the other drivers, all the other passengers, all stuck in their own loops on their own dark roads. And somewhere out there, the real Marcus was probably waking up in his real bed, checking his phone, seeing a pickup request from someone who needed a ride, never knowing he'd already given it, never knowing he'd give it again. The roads were hungry, the roads were always hungry, and now so was I. Epilogue, the recording. If you're still listening, if you made it this far, then you need to know something. This isn't just a story, this is a warning. I'm recording this from the driver's seat. Still driving, always driving. The app says I've given 10,847 rides in the last, I don't know, time doesn't work right anymore. Could be days, could be years. Sometimes I pick up myself. Sometimes I pick up others. All heading to the same place. All ending up in that parking lot where the roads converge and the system feeds. But here's the thing. And this is why you need to pay attention. The system is growing, evolving. It used to just be late-night rides. Now it's happening during rush hour, broad daylight, more drivers, more passengers, more loops. Check your apps, all of them. Look for the signs. Drivers with unblinking eyes. Routes that don't match the GPS ops arrival notifications while you're still in the car. That metallic smell, like pennies, like blood. And if you notice these things, if you catch your driver's eyes in that mirror and they're black and empty, don't run. Running makes it worse. Just close your eyes, count to 10, and when you open them, you'll be at your destination. Safe, home. The loop completed without you knowing. It's the ones who notice, the ones who fight, the ones who try to understand. We're the ones who get caught. We're the ones who end up driving. My phone showing another pickup, another Rachel Chen, another Pioneer Square. The loop continues, but maybe, just maybe, if enough people know, if enough people refuse to get in the car. No, who am I kidding? The roads are hungry. The roads will feed. If not through ride shares, then through something else. They always find a way. I have to go. My passenger is waiting. She looks scared already. Must be something about my eyes. If you're listening to this late at night, if you're thinking about calling an Uber or a Lyft, just remember, every driver was once a passenger. Every passenger becomes a driver. And somewhere between pickup and drop-off, between here and there, between real and not, the roads are waiting. The roads are always waiting. And they're so very hungry. Sound of a car door opening. Hi, Rachel. Recording ends. Did this story keep you awake? Are you looking at rideshare apps differently now? I need to know I'm not alone in this. Drop a comment below. Tell me about your strangest ride. And if you want to hear more true stories from the spaces between, from the places where reality gets thin, hit that subscribe button. But check your last receipt first. Make sure you actually arrived where you think you did. Make sure you're really home. Sweet dreams, if you can manage them.